Hi, and welcome to another school year here at Magnolia High School. This is David Youngblood. I'm one of the dual credit instructors at the high school, and I wanted to take some time to talk about something that's upon us now. It's a new technology, came out last year in November. You might know it as ChatGPT, but basically that's kind of like a general name for calling artificial intelligence and how it can be used in the classroom. So I put this video together to talk about what you can expect this school year and some of the things that go on with it, as well as some of the responsibilities that you might have as a user. All right, so there are probably about 3 or 4 sections that I'll cover in this video, so let's begin. So let's start with what exactly is AI and what's all this noise that's being made about it. So you probably noticed in some of your apps, your social media apps, and in the news that there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and about this rollout of ChatGPT and what it might mean for the educational system and also for the future of work. Well, first of all, what I want to reinforce with all of you is that artificial intelligence is not you. Nothing can replace your unique set of experiences, which are part of your understanding of the world. So the things that you've gone through up to this point in your life and the things that you'll continue to face, all of the opportunities, all of the adversities make up who you are and make up your unique personality. AI is nowhere near being able to do that. So your style, your vocabulary, even the errors that you make put a unique fingerprint, if you want to think about it that way, digitally. AI is not good at being you, and you are the most important part of your education. So try to keep that in mind as we kind of move forward. So now let's talk about what exactly is AI. So artificial intelligence is a computer program, and basically it uses mathematical models. And when we talk about AI, specifically ChatGPT, what you're looking at is something called a LLM. Okay, it's a language model. So what they've done is they fed a lot of resources, data into the program so that it can begin to recognize language. And once it recognizes language, as it grows more sophisticated, it can begin to answer questions and use language to respond to you rather than code. Okay, so machines can begin to recognize not only language, but things like artwork that's been digitized and so forth and so on. Okay, so it can begin to perform those actions. So when we look at it, a good way to look at it, in mathematics, when the calculator became very popular and kids could use calculators to do simple mathematical equations and calculations, many people saw that as kind of the end of mathematics. Well, it was a tool, and that's what this is. It's a tool. Think of it as a word calculator rather than a number calculator. A better way maybe to think about it, a better metaphor, might be to think about it as a sophisticated parrot. The parrot can learn to model and imitate the sounds that it hears, so information that's inputted into the program. But it's not conscious. The idea of a thinking machine is not here yet, if it ever is going to be here. It's not really conscious what the parrot is saying. It's simply mimicking back what it's received. So AI is really just an advanced parrot. It can string together sounds, place those into words, and seem very sophisticated. But please remember, you have a responsibility. It is not you. So if you make a decision to present AI generated work as your own, and you don't qualify it by citing it or acknowledging its use, then you are probably guilty of plagiarism, which can have some real impact on you, not only in the education system, but out there in the world. And I'll explain that in a second. So let's now talk about AI as a gathering tool. And so you may have noticed when the ChatGPT first rolled out, it was free to use, but it was somewhat congested. So there was a big line or a queue where you had to wait sometimes to get your question answered. So what's changed with AI over the last couple of months is that it's become a pay-for service. So you can still get free variations of ChatGPT, but you can also pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee. So AI, like anything on the web or through the internet, is a data gathering tool, and you as a consumer of that tool need to be very aware of what that means. Okay, you need to understand that when you make payment to use an AI tool, it opens up a whole set of questions about fairness and access. So in a school setting, when we talk about some kids who have a paid subscription, maybe they have paid or mom or dad has paid for it, versus some kids who don't have access to that. So does that constitute an unfair advantage for them? So you might see your school, even your district, begin to set policies in place that consider that inequality that's there. Okay. Another thing besides the equitable use idea is this idea of data harvesting. This data harvesting will take place at a micro as well as a macro level, which means general information about you, what you plug into the computer as far as your name, email address, contact information, anything else that it asks for you, payment information. All of that becomes part of the data, the big data that can be used. Now, if you read your user terms closely, you'll see that some companies are better at keeping that safe. Others will have no compunction about selling your data to other companies. So that may come in the form of extra emails or advertisements that get targeted to you, or even your data may be used as part of some study that they're running. All of this is done kind of in the background, and you may not be realizing it's happening. So there is a certain amount of risk when you sign up to use an AI tool. Okay. The more information you put into it, and the nature of AI is it's supposed to grow and learn based on the input. So as you put in prompts, as you give feedback to the program, it's using that information. And some people have an ethical question about, well, if they're using my information, why am I not getting paid for that? And that's certainly a question that the generations that are now are going to have to answer, because there are big companies making lots of money off of your data and your input. The more you use and the more you access an artificial intelligence tool, the more you open yourself up to that digital footprint, which can be harvested, which can be sold, which can be looked at. Okay, so it's something I need you to consider as you go. Even if you use a simple tool like Siri and ask a question, that information can be harvested. So please be aware of that. And I want to talk about one specific ramification of use that affects all of you. So one consideration you need to make before you consider using a chat box or some kind of tool like Socratic or whatnot to answer questions for yourself on a homework assignment is using an AI tool or a chat box considered cheating? So let's talk about that, because that's a very important component for us to consider. So is using AI cheating? Simple answer is it could be. Remember, AI is a tool. It can't come close to replicating you as an individual and your individual experience of the world, your unique style, the vocabulary you possess. All of that makes you unique. Okay, AI is not you. All right, so this is a machine, and think about it like that. It's like a calculator, but it's different. When you use an AI chat box to write an essay or to help you complete an assignment, okay, it's a different tool than using a calculator to help you quickly calculate, a number sequence. All right, using AI as a replacement for your own thinking is where you can begin to get in a bit of trouble. Okay, becoming dependent on the technology to solve the problems rather than you actually thinking of it. Your education is yours. It doesn't belong to AI. Okay, so as you prepare yourself for the future, think in terms of, what am I doing that's making it better for me to get the things that I want, to pursue the happiness that I want? Now, moving forward, here's a very real-world thing you need to consider. This past year, the Texas Supreme Court upheld a University of Texas systems rule, and the rule was put in place where a student who was found to have cheated, say in a grad school, they were working on a doctoral program, and they plagiarized, on their dissertation. or they somehow cheated on an exam. Okay. The Texas Supreme Court upheld that the university has the right to pull or vacate that degree, which means that that degree that you spent 4, 5, 6, 12 years getting could be taken from you, which means that your income and your reputation and your sources could be at risk. Okay? In short, that means that if you use any outside sources helping you to prepare or helping you to create something as part of your college degree, you run the risk of losing that degree if you don't cite the source properly. Now, what does citing look like? That's a section I'd like to get to, but this is a real world thing, and just be careful about it. Okay, so how do we help you? How do we as teachers, how do we as a school, how do we as a school district begin to help you navigate and make proper decisions for yourself? So this is going to sound a little complicated, but ultimately you are responsible for making the decision about AI use. Okay? However, each teacher that you're encountering, so whether it's an English course, a history course, a science or math or elective, each teacher is going to be guided by their department as to what boundaries that department wants to set and what expectations they want to have for AI use within their classrooms. Okay? So the English department may have a policy of, they may say we don't want any AI used, or we want it guided under these conditions. And the history may have something similar. It's possible that the departments may have different policies, which means you need to be aware of each policy as you go into each discipline. Okay? Now further, those of you that might be enrolled in a special program, like advanced placement, like dual credit, like IB, you may be guided by expectations and limitations imposed by those governing agencies. So advanced placement, the AP program as a whole, the national organization, may decide that they want to put these sets of guidelines in place for AI use. Dual credit may do the same thing through the local college, through Tomball College, in our case. They may choose to put some certain regulations on how it's used in an English 1301 class. Okay? And likewise the IB program. Now, these policies may be similar, these policies may be different. Okay? So you need to be informed, you need to be on the lookout for that. Now the school itself may also have some specific policies in use and put into place. You may notice things like certain sites may be blocked. Okay? That could be the district that's blocking that use of that particular AI tool. Okay? There may be other AI tools that are made available to you. Okay? So there may be special guidelines that are set up by the district. Please check with your teacher. Your individual teacher may have specific ideas and guidelines. As long as they're not interfering with those guidelines set in place by their governing bodies, they will determine for you how to use AI in their classroom. Okay? Now, please keep this in mind going forward. It's a very important distinction. It puts a lot of the burden on you as a student to be aware of what the policies are for the teacher, for the department, for the specific program I am involved in, and for the school district as a whole. Please be aware that these guidelines will carry with you if you go on for a further, like a college education or degree, or you begin to work within a company. They may set guidelines up for you about use for this as well. Okay? We're just beginning the steps of this. What this is going to look like, I can't tell you at this point. It's only going to grow and grow. So I'd like for us to be kind of on the page and talk a little bit about like the ethical use of this. Okay. All right. So one thing you can begin to do and begin to practice is if you've experimented with like a Chat GPT or Socratic, you'll notice that they typically all run the same. You input a question, you ask it a question, you click a button, and then you get a response fairly rapidly. Okay. But it's important to remember that any material that you use from that AI, you need to give credit to. It's like borrowing it from a book or an internet site. Your teachers will show you the proper method, okay? What form that takes, whether it's a citation, whether it's a paragraph, whether you're asked to print out and download, the steps you took, the prompts that you wrote. All of that will be determined by your teacher, by your department, by whatever policies that's set in place. Okay? Okay? So be prepared when using AI programs to be ready to properly cite the use. Now that proper citation will be determined by your teacher, which in turn they may be getting guidance from their department, from their program, or from whatever source. Okay? Please be aware that that's a responsibility that you have. All right. One of the things that you can do, and some of the AI programs are better at this than others, is that you can ask the AI to identify the sources that it is using when it is putting this information together. And then you, as a responsible student or user, should take those sources and check them out yourself. Is it getting me good information? I will tell you this about some of the chat programs out there. They are sloppy. Okay, they're like a lot of us. They look for shortcuts. They don't understand sometimes what they're putting out there. They can be biased. They can be incorrect. They have even been known to make up information. Don't accept it just because it comes on a nice packaged screen without checking the information first. Okay, so here's an AI program that I actually have experimented a little bit with. I like a lot. It's called Perplexity. One of the reasons I like this is that it automatically will identify the sources that it uses as it comes up with that whatever question you answer, when it comes up with the responses. So what does that look like? So let me show you kind of a thread that I put together. All right. So I asked a question. I typed this in. We do a work in my course, a poem called Porphyria's Lover, and I usually incorporate it by taking a look at a physics law, Newton's 3 laws of motion. We take a look at that first law. An object in motion stays in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. So my prompt for this program for Perplexity was, please offer a literary analysis of the poem Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning that incorporates Newton's first law of motion. In addition, will you please write the bibliographies for any source you consult? So that last little bit where I ask it to write the bibliographies, that's a direct command. It will do that for me. So it spits out an information for me, and then you'll notice that it gives me a bibliography. Now, is the bibliography correct? Yes and no. For the most part, yes, it's correct. It's not formatted the way we use MLA, Modern Language Association. It's not formatted as I would like it, and it's missing a date of access. So all of that would need to be altered, but the information it's given is spot on. Okay? So something to consider as you go. How am I going to cite my sources, including my artificial intelligence? Okay, we're going to end this video on 2 notes. One is just an important reminder for you. Please remember, not all AI programs are equal. They are only as good as the team or the individual that's been programming them. They may function in a similar manner, but some of them are better at looking through source material and writing it better. So it will grow stronger. You will see more and more companies, so you'll have, it's almost like restaurants. You'll have almost an infinite supply of places you can go where you can get, Chat GPT style information. All right. So the other thing I want you to remember is a chat box is not a thinking being. What it puts out there is limited by the sources that it searches. And currently, there's, for most of these programs, a 2 to 3 year lag. So any information, this is 2023, any information after 2021, this search engine doesn't use, the chat box doesn't use. So current information, up-to-date information, may not be available. So consider that as you use the sources. All right. AI is not a very good tool at analysis. It's not a very good tool at projecting into the future, and it's certainly not a very good tool at making personal connections. Only you can do that, and that's I want to get back and kind of harp on that a little bit. You are unique. The experiences that you have, the hardships you go through, the joy, contentment that you experience, all of those make up who you are uniquely. That should feed into the products that come out in your school projects, in your school papers, and in your education. Nothing can replicate that, so please remember that. Now what I'd like to do is conclude by taking a look at how do we write a prompt for ChatGPT? How do we do this right? Okay, so if you're a first-time user of something like a chat box, it's real easy and it's real tempting just to ask it a basic question. Write an essay about penguins. Okay? And it will do this for you. But this is a very vague. You can get much better results by tinkering with the prompts that you write. So let's look at the difference between these two. So write an essay about penguins. Okay. So I've given it a task to write an essay, and I've given it a subject, but that's all I've given it. So a better way of doing this might be to be more specific. Write a friendly blog post on why people should lose weight. Explain why obesity is a problem, how people can lose weight, and why being healthy is important. I've given it some very specific guidelines of what I want it to look for and then what I want it to create. Instead of an essay, I'm asking it to write a blog post that's friendly, okay? And I've given it some specific tasks, all right? Here's another one, if you take a look at it. This one's even more specific, okay? Prompt. I'm a professor who wants to understand what students found most important about my class and what they are confused by. Review these responses and identify common themes and patterns in student responses. Summarize responses and list the 3 key points students found most important about the class and 3 areas of confusion. And then I could input material that I got when I gave out a survey to my students. I gave responses, and maybe I have 4 or 5 student responses. I could put that in there. So you can actually input data into your prompt, and the chat GPT will then look at that data and formulate a response for you. Okay, so let's wrap up. So first thing I want to say is I want to give you a tool that you can use to help you write strong prompts for using AI. It's a simple acronym, CREATE. The first C is for character. Please define what role you want the AI program to take. Okay? You're an English teacher with 15 years experience. You're a 5-year-old writing a letter to your mother. Okay? You're a 12th grade English student. Give it a specific character role to play. And the R stands for request. Make your request and be as specific as you can. You're an English teacher with 15 years experience. Write a compelling cover letter. Okay? Write an annotated bibliography. Create a narrative short story. Okay? Tell it exactly what product you want it to produce. Give an example. Provide some kind of sample for more precise results. Okay? You may identify even a web page where you think this blog poster did this correctly. I want you to kind of follow the style that's going with that. Make whatever adjustments, A is for adjustments, to refine the prompt. Okay? When you write this essay out, please don't use bullet points. I'd rather you create subheadings for my material. I'd like to have an annotated bibliography. I'd like to have an MLA documented citation. Okay? Whatever it is you want. What type of output would you like? I need a 250-word informative essay. I need a persuasive essay. I need an infographic. I need this. I need that. Okay. And then finally, the E is any extras you want it to use. As you write this, please use complex vocabulary. As you write this, I want you to write it as if you were 12 years old. Okay. I need you to cite the sources that you use. All of those extra commands give it more specific. And remember, whatever prompt you use, the more specific you are, the better output that you'll get. All right. So that's about all I wanted to cover today. There may be other videos to help you as we go through this, but good luck. Please, again, look to your teachers for guidance about how they will use or not use artificial intelligence in their classroom. Thanks for listening.